So you're not going to use the projector at all?
Yes. We have documents. I don't.
We can turn it off. I set the room up and
Yeah, I want it off.
so we can turn it off.
We're conducting the meeting. So we want
Yeah, turning it off.
So we can't share documents? No, we're going to turn it off.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is our neighborhood meeting, so.
I'll get.
Okay, so then we have to do another one if we want to show any of the people here our documents? If you guys want to stay after we're done, and you guys can talk and the room's available, but this is our neighborhood meeting. But we're the neighbors. I know, but it's our neighborhood meeting, so.
Can we show them?
Yeah. After we're done and we can step to the side, then you can do that. But we're going to conduct the neighborhood meeting. Okay.
I just get to speak after, so.
Of course.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'll reintroduce myself to the neighborhood here. I think most of you have seen me. I was at the town board and then at the BCC hearing. My name is Tony Celeste. Along with me is Jennifer Lazovich. Together we represent the property owner and the developer of the proposed development, Richard Gallegos, who is with the developer, and Lexa Green in the back, who is also recording the meeting. So that's our team. I am passing around a sign-in sheet. I think I have contact information from some of you, but certainly not all. There has not been this many people between town board and BCC. So please sign in. It gives us an opportunity to keep in touch with you. That's how we disseminated this information for the neighborhood meeting. If you've already signed in previous ones, you don't have to re-sign in. We'll just add you to the continuing email list. So would appreciate if you could sign in if you would like to continue to get information should we decide to hold again or have additional follow-up neighborhood meetings, etc. I'll be able to keep in touch with you that way. So that is circulating around, so please fill that out. What I'm going to do is go overview of this application. And so give me a few minutes here to go over the application. I know you probably have questions. Hopefully we could reserve those towards the end. Let us just get through the initial presentation and background information. Going to explain the application, give the background. There was a lot of questions at the town board, and then while we never really went before, we held it at the BCC, but there was a lot of public comment made about this project, even though that project was not described at the BCC hearing. We are planning on going back September 18th, BCC hearing. That's 9 o'clock at 500 South Grand Central Parkway. So first, let me get into the project. Have a couple components to the project. So first, let me give you the background. You can see the site right here is highlighted in yellow. This is Star Hills Avenue to the south. And then south of that is mostly undeveloped property. To the north is generally Southern Highlands, although there's a couple of out parcels, including ours. We are not part of Southern Highlands. You can see on both sides we are infill here between this development to the east and development to the west. To the north of us is 25 acres. That is BLM property up here. And then you can see to the north mostly, like I said, Southern Highlands development. You have, Frias School over here and Stuckey Elementary over here. So that's the general vicinity of the area. This next map up here is the master plan. It is basically what an area will be planned. So in this case, we are planned mid-neighborhood suburban. What that means is residential development would be expected to go there, and it'd be expected at 8 units to the acre. You can see everything around us, so developed parcels, everything to the north is all in that 8 units to the acre master plan designation. The way I like to explain a master plan is if you kind of took a blank canvas, started painting nodes in an area, you'd have industrial areas, you'd have commercial areas, entertainment areas, you'd have residential within residential, you'd have a whole bunch of different types of residential from high density to low density to medium density. This is medium density, what it's all been planned. You can see including our site. Down here in this corner now is the zoning. Our property is zoned RS 3.3. What that stands for is residential suburban at 3,300 square foot lots are the minimum. So that is what the zoning stands for, RS 3.3. You can see everything around us is zoned the same at RS 3.3. The green areas are most likely BLM or other government agencies that own it. And then the blue is also just public facilities areas as well. For example, the school is in blue, public facilities. The green are the BLM properties here. So we're zoned the same as everything around us that are residentially built or planned to be built. The zoning in this it has two components to it that you're of maximums. Maximum of 8 units to the acre, and every lot minimum needs to be 3,300 square feet, 3,300 square feet. So you can't just build 3,300 square foot lots because you'll likely go over that 8 unit maximum density. So that's what increases some of the square footage in the area. Let's see, where's our big site plan, Richard? So we have our site plan here, or the design review portion of it. Within the design review portion of it, we have a couple of waivers that I'm going to go over. And then at the end, what I think has drawn a lot of interest, well, I guess the whole thing has, but one of the other particular things is the use permit for the temporary gravel pit that we have on the area. So I'll cover those things. So first, with respect to the design, again, this is Star Hills to the south, residential to the west and east. This is the 25-acre BLM parcel to the north, our 5 acres. We're proposing to come in off of Star Hills in this location right here, proposing gates that'll be set back from the right-of-way. We are proposing 40 homes in here. That would work out to the 8 units to the acre, which is the maximum, obviously, under the RS 3.3. Every single lot will exceed the 3,300 square feet. And so that is the basics of this. We have, as part of that, waivers, or they might be categorized as use permits. Waivers are use permits with respect to the hillside ordinance. As you know, right through here, this portion, right in through here, probably this portion, there's a knoll or a hill that consumes a lot of this area right here. So we are asking for use permits to basically waive the hillside criteria here for the development of this site. That is one of the aspects of this. The other aspects include Star Hills right here is on the Master Streets and Highways plan. It shows as a 100-foot right-of-way. However, it is not being developed out to 100 feet. It's being developed out at 60 feet. So, for example, when these two developments came in, you would have expected that they would have dedicated 50 feet of right-of-way because it's 50 feet on this side and then 50 feet on the south side. They only dedicated 30 feet, so they vacated 20 feet of it, or didn't dedicate an additional 20 feet. Only dedicated 30 feet. That's essentially making this a 60-foot right-of-way. So we're asking for the same dedication, 30 feet, so that it's universal across here. We're also asking for attached sidewalks. Attached sidewalks means you have the curb, gutter, sidewalk, then land. So you have your street, you have your gutter, you have your curb, sidewalk, and then landscaping behind the sidewalk, and then the wall to the development. That will match what is on the east and west of us, of our project here. The code requires detached. Detached would be your street, your gutter, curb, 5 feet of landscaping, a 5-foot sidewalk, 5 feet of landscaping, then your wall. We're proposing to do the 5 feet of sidewalk with a 10-foot landscape behind it with the wall that would match what is to the east and west of us for that. We also have, let's see, where's our, you have the big elevate grading. Yeah. Yeah. So we also have a request to increase the grading on the site. So again, Star Hills to the bottom, here's the BLM property to the north, and then west and east. What this shows is basically a cross-section through the property here of the anticipated finished grade elevations we're going to have. And what these green lines indicate is basically what this finished grade is at this existing development, this house, and where it corresponds on the opposite side here, and how we're going to cut through the mountain and essentially, for the most part, match a lot of your grades. But because there's going to be greater than 36-inch cut into it, it triggers additional design review or waiver to allow that, which is basically just somewhat matching what you have. So by way of example, right here, this 0, 0, so we're starting at a baseline of 2,400 feet. So out in Southern Highlands, in this area, everything, the elevation exceeds 2,400 feet. So right at this point, at this 0, 0, now transitions to 2,500 feet. So at 2,500 feet, these are going to be our finished grades that will correspond to the finished grades to the east and to the west of us. And it'll go up to about 2,540. So there's quite a big, it's a hill, just like when you drive this area, when you come in off this entrance, either entrance, but especially the west entrance of this development here, you go up that street pretty quick at a pretty high grade. So basically, we're going to be going from about 2,455 up to 2,540. So it's about 95 feet incline through from Star Hills to the top of the site, about 95 feet, or going down this direction is 95 feet, which was you can see, similar to the developments to the east and to the west. So we're doing our best to match those grades that already exist.
How high is that point right now?
Yeah. It ranges, the hill is, how tall is it?
Like 2585.
2585.
But where you show in the one grade, there's no houses beyond there. So if there's houses there where you show that last grade, so you're wanting to go more into the mountain. It's mountain, not really a hill.
So I'll take
homes
questions.
there.
So one of the other things, what's triggering the use permit for the temporary gravel pit is so that we can do the best we can to minimize the wall heights in the area. We do, in our area, we do have a request to increase the wall height. Let me first show that exhibit. Let's step back, sure. Right here. So we do have, you can see it up in this. Do you have a bigger one in this one? No. So this is the wall height. We're basically going to have a series of 10-foot walls that are going to be set back from each other, and then another 10-foot wall, retaining wall with a 6-foot like iron rod fence. So, for example, on the bottom lot, can you hold this? Yeah. So, for example, on this bottom lot right here, we're going to have this is then stair steps up going this direction. So we're going to have a 10-foot wall right here that is basically retaining this path up right here. So we're going to have 10 feet that goes up. And then it's going to step back 10 feet, where then there's going to be another 10-foot wall here, retaining wall holding this site up. And on top of that, we're going to put a wrought iron fence, about a 6-foot wrought iron fence. So in total height, it'll probably be about 26 feet. So you're going to have 10 feet here, step back 10 feet, then another wall of 10 feet, and on top of that wall will be a wrought iron fence, because this is going to be retaining the dirt on this side up here. So it'll be 26-foot tall fence, which will allow us to create a lower fence than what is over on the development to the west, where those wall heights are up to 42 feet. And the reason we can do that, or want to do that, is we're asking for, we have what's called a contract for mineral cells with the BLM. And that allows us to grade outside of our property as well. And by utilizing about an acre to the north here, it'll allow us to cut into the hill a little bit easier without the substantial walls and big drop in between lots there. So it'll be able to make it more gradual decline instead of a very steep decline. That's the goal with that. So there's been some confusion on what exactly we are grading and the area we're grading. So part of our minerals, or part of our contract with the Department of Interior, and specifically the BLM, is we are allowed to grade our 5 acres plus an additional acre of that BLM parcel to the north for a total of 6 acres. So that is the area that is going to be graded. And all it is going to be graded, and the dirt from there will be removed from the site. It will not be processed at the site at all, as would be like a batching plant. There's going to be no grinding of the rocks. It's not converted into anything else. It's basically the earthwork. We'll take the materials from the site. We'll have it on a dump truck, which will then be leaving the site and going elsewhere, and it'll be processed and done with whatever it is at its separate location. So there was questions about the path that would be coming in and out, and the duration, the number of trips, et cetera, for it. So we think that, first of all, we're going to agree to a condition, no blasting. I tried to make that clear at Enterprise Town Board. We are not going to blast. We're going to be doing.
We need the clipboard back here.
We're going to be doing all earthwork. All the excavation is going to be with heavy machinery like a mill. You could probably, if you want to show them some examples of what that equipment looks like. And we're going to, like I said, agree to a condition of no blasting. There we go. So this is the mill. So this is what will be on site that will actually be doing the grading. And then a smaller bulldozer will then lift it and place it into the various dump trucks. Bulldozer like this, then lift it, the material, the earthwork into the trucks, which will then be hauled off, and I'll show you.
How many at one time?
I will get into that, which will be hauled off, and then around the edges, do want to be completely transparent. Again, no blasting around the edges because it cannot get to these corners here. We would then do, what is this machine called, Richard?
Hydraulic.
The hydraulic machine here to get around the edges here. But again, no blasting. This will probably take us, doing this excavation this way, is probably 6 months, as opposed to blasting. Blasting would be 2 or 3 months. As I mentioned, I think I mentioned both of these communities on either side of us did blasting for their excavation. We are not going to do that. As far as the truck route and number of trucks per day, we anticipate having 3 trucks on site that'll rotate in and out, so a total of 3. We're hoping to get between 16 to 20 trips per truck, so that'll be 48 to 60 round trips per day. Yeah, right. Per day, right? Wow. 16 round trips at a minimum. We hope it's somewhere between 16 to 20 round trips per truck. We figure we can queue 3 trucks through there, so that's where I get the 48 to 60 trips.
What is the route?
And then the route will go. The route's going to go. So right here is our site.
Yeah.
It's going to go. As you're coming out of the site, it's going to take a right down Star Hills. And Star Hill is winding to what then turns into the Jones alignment to Cactus. Then left on Cactus, and then right into our own industrial complex where we could do the batching or the grinding and et cetera material. So it'll be taken off site. So that is what we believe our anticipated path is leaving the site. The
Once it gets there, it's not going anywhere else?
once it gets there, it's processed.
When it comes back, it's going the same?
No, it's not coming back.
You said round trip.
So you gotta take it off and the truck's gotta return.
So it's gonna be.
Truck comes back empty. The truck leaves with dirt, and then the truck comes back empty, gets refilled. So that'll happen 16 to 20 times a day times the 3 trucks. On site, the queuing will be in the middle right here. As you know, there's the hill that goes up this way. So right here is the flattest area that will allow for the trucks to stage in this area, come back around at a 90-degree angle to come back out Star Hills this direction. We'll have a left in and then a right out for the trucks, and they'll be staged in this area as the earthwork continues up the hill and then brought down to the trucks as they're removed.
I have a question.
I'm not following the
Then-
map. Is it gonna pass Plessy Elementary?
No, it's going the opposite direction.
It's going by the other elementary.
Where's that single story?
Another elementary.
The lot size, 1 story, 2 story.
Have you guys done a study so you know what the soil is? So you're sure that this.
Yeah, sure. We have our soil report right here if anybody would like to look at it. Here, 2 story.
So we're doing, so we're gonna propose one,
Doing the development and you have houses being built down closer to Star, where are you staging your trucks? Getting further down into the project.
what?
When they're building, yeah, and you have lots.
I don't understand.
They won't be there.
Well, you'll have
Right, it won't be
construction
there.
equipment, right? You'll have workers.
So grading all takes place, it takes 6 months with the earthwork material on there. Once the grading and the lots are set, those vehicles, the bulldozer, the mill, the trucks are all gone. Then it's your general construction materials, the lumber, et cetera, that then starts building the home. So all that,
So you're still gonna be on that property, you're not gonna be on Star Hills at all?
For part of it.
Yes, exactly.
no, I mean, we're gonna have to build out Star Hills and this right of way to match what's over here. So
She's
there's gonna
talking
be
about
more
part
work.
of the construction.
Your workers, the equipment is
It'll be parked.
gonna be parked on the street of Star Hills.
No, internal on the street.
Everything gonna be inside.
Internal. What I wanted to show here is that we're doing a combination, we have 1 and 2 story homes we're proposing. We will agree to condition where we'll have our 1 story product next to existing 1 story homes. So that takes place really in these 3 homes right here to the west.
30,
Yeah, so next to lots, which one's 30?
33, 21.
20. So these 3 lots right here, we'll agree to 1-story homes because these 3 homes to the west of us are single-story there. So we can agree to the 1-story to 1-story ratio there, and it would apply over here as well. I think we have a 1-story. One of these are a 1-story.
Second lot in.
This right here is a 1-story, so one of these, 1 or 14, could also be the 1-story home as well.
What about the ones on that
Tip, tip, tip.
We'll get everybody out. What's the square footage on each one of those homes?
The square footage of the homes?
Yeah.
They range, so our 2-story homes range from 1,700 to 2,100.
Yeah.
And then the 1-story home is 1,200. 1,200. Each one has a 2-car garage. And the bedrooms are what, 3 and 4 bedrooms? 3 and 4 bedrooms, each home.
Any big low-income housing?
No,
anything
it's
like
for-
that? Is it gonna be rental properties or actual home ownership?
It's gonna be fee simple, for sale. It is market rate, so whatever the market dictates is what, so we don't have quite the numbers yet, but it'll be.
Couple years away.
It is not, for example, you're probably familiar with American Homes for Rent, by example. This is not the developer. It is a for sale product. There will be HOA as part of this, so there'll be those deed restrictions that would be attached to it. And
Piggyback on that HOA thing, since you guys are not planning on being part of the Southern Highlands HOA, what are you guys gonna contribute? I'm confused since we're paying to keep that area developed, clean. We're paying for that. What exactly is gonna be contributed from this development to our community?
So, good question. We are in an area that's called the Public Facilities Needs Area, PFNA. What that requires is that in certain areas, which this is pretty much all the properties in the Southwest, you're required to enter into a standard development agreement with the county. What that development agreement does is extract fees from the developer for every building permit that is pulled. So fees are paid, there's residential construction tax paid, there are fees paid to parks, police, fire, is there anything else? Schools. So there is a tax on top of that residential tax, basically a tax, that per unit, each one of these fees are due to those different public municipalities, or public entities. But we are not annexing in specifically to Southern Highlands.
Those will require HOA payments, but just not to the.
We'll have just so a lot of times you have your Southern Highlands Master Association, and then this community right here I know is gated, so likely then has a sub HOA community as well. We will not be part of a master association, but we will have a separate homeowners association for these 40 lots.
Is it gated?
Gated.
Question, for the houses, there's a driveway on all of them, a full-size driveway,
20-foot minimum.
and sidewalk on both sides?
On one side, sidewalk on one side of the,
But not in between the two
Not in
houses?
between the homes?
The homes, right?
just on the side here, just on the middle spine road.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question about the top build, the ones at the highest point? Are those single story or two story?
So we have a mixture of 1 and 2 story. What I'm saying is we'll agree to a condition that lots 20, 21, and 33 will be single story only because we are adjacent to developed 3 single story to the west. And then on this side, lots 1 and 14 could also be 1 story since this home right here
So those
is a
two
single
to the
story.
east and the west, very tip-top ones, those
could
would
be a mix-
totally overlook down into.
Those could be 2 or 3 story, 1 or 2 story homes.
Okay, because that one to the far west will 100%, I'm right behind 33, so this majorly affects me. I am right next to that one.
33, we're committing to
Right.
one story home.
And that top one is what's the problem, because that's really digging into the mountain.
We
Like, if
can-
you guys had a plan, just got rid of those 7
We can
lots.
go back and see if 34 could be.
Have you actually walked that?
Yes.
You've physically walked that?
I've been out to the
I
site.
don't believe you, because I've walked that many times. I can't see how the hell you're gonna do it without displacement.
Why don't you believe I walked it?
You know what? I'll take you up on it. My name's John Myers, they're right there.
I'll do it. Let's go, man. Let's run
Okay,
it.
let's do it.
Ready.
All right.
Hi.
Let's go.
And let's bring an
Yeah,
engineer
no, no.
too, because I'm telling you, it's gonna.
I got my direction.
Okay.
But yes, we've been out there. We have experience. Our client, the developer, has experience in earthwork and removal and actually does that a lot as the main component of his business. So this is something he's very experienced in.
I'd love to meet him.
Confident, so I guess we're confident enough that we're gonna.
We're gonna take the questions
Yeah.
one at a time. So put your hand up, please. Thank you. Put your hand up, one at a time. So I'm gonna start with her.
So what percentage of the plot of land is considered hillside?
About the northern 3.5 acres through here, about 3 acres to the north. Or this
What's the percentage though?
That's 60%.
It's actually more than 60% based on the map that you provided, unless that's incorrect.
Well, if you know the answer, go ahead.
It's 80%.
Thank you.
So if you don't get the waivers, what can you realistically build on that property with only 20%,
Go back to the drawing board. That's our request.
which is basically the majority of the homes?
Okay, next question. Yes, sir. You have what?
I have 2 questions. First one, where does the developer have all this experience?
I'll let you.
So we have about 1,800 acres out at Apex. Kind of, if you're familiar with that area out there, the Speedway, across I-15, some of that mountainous terrain. Last year, for example, we moved about 1 million cubic yards of dirt. This year, we expect to do about 1.5 million and continue for the next probably 10 years. We've got all that property, a lot of terrain. So that's predominantly where we go.
Second question, why do you need waivers? Why not just comply?
The property is master planned for up to 8 units to the acre, so this is the design that we put in.
If the waivers are approved, but not without the waivers.
The question is different. Hillside, the hillside ordinance is an ordinance. It's in effect, it's designed to protect existing property owners. Why don't you just comply?
This is the plan we're moving forward with.
No,
So that's not.
I understand, we're gonna agree to disagree, yes, sir.
Existing regulations and controls existed when the developer bought the property. So therefore, it makes confusing to me. I mean, minor changes, fine. These aren't minor changes. So why are you trying to rip off everybody who built that neighborhood? What made that neighborhood desirable are the people in the homes that were built to the existing standards. So you want to build something lower to standards to maximize your profits, and that doesn't make any sense to us.
Okay, fair enough. Next question. I think it was you, sir.
Most people, a lot of people, I'm gonna say most, have more than 2 cars. Where will they park their cars? Is there parking on the street, on one side of the street? No parking in any street? We don't want them to park on Star Hills because that's illegal. So where are they gonna park the overflow cars?
So all driveways can have 2 cars, plus the garage is 2 cars. And streets allow for parking.
And then we have enough room on the street for parking.
For parking.
Similar.
Correct, not at the center street.
So both sides of the street, you have room for cars
which
and
side?
emergency vehicles coming in if they have to? I mean, do you have
This
enough-
street has,
What's the width of the streets?
this street and this street would have 42.
30, 37, and 40,
The one facing
49.
each other. What was that, sorry?
This is 49 feet wide.
No, not that one.
This is
Where the
37,
houses
this is
are.
37, and this is 24.
What's the private street?
24.
They're all private streets, just like,
The small one.
oh, the width 25.
25.
So 25 would not.
Yes.
All conforming to code.
And they can't park on the street there.
Correct.
So they can't park on the street for emergency vehicle purposes?
This is the only street right here, this middle one. No guest parking here, no parking at all on this street. The main spine and these 2 streets here can accommodate parking on the street.
And how's that going to be enforced?
Okay, hang on.
We have an
Next
HOA.
question. Lady right here.
So my issue is that our existing development, which is Montauk Moran, which is on the west side. So we have a house in that very top left corner where you're starting. And you're telling me you're gonna go another acre past that line that's never gonna recover. So we're gonna look at a scar because that wall on the back of those houses is not gonna be up against the wall you cut. You're going farther than that. So we get stuck looking at huge walls and a gaping hole in the back. And the other side, they're not developed all the way up at all. So now what's gonna happen to them if something happens to that 1 acre area that you've scarred permanently and it comes around the walls and comes right down into Star Hills houses? Because why would you scar that hillside? All of our homes come right up to the sky. You can't see it. That house in the top corner, you can't see the scar. I've been up there because we had another issue back there with those 10 foot, 10 foot, 10 foot that you're talking about to try and accommodate the grade. But there's huge issues back there that we are dealing with now that you're gonna affect both of our neighborhoods with. So my question now is, what money is gonna be retained after this project's completed for a period of time for the homeowners to get restitution if something happens? What are you guys gonna do to make sure that we're covered? You're not. You're gonna sell your house, the last one, this LLC will be gone, and we'll be all left holding the bag. So I'm just trying to figure out how you're gonna explain that to us in such a way that we're gonna feel comfortable.
Contributing back to the community.
You do 0 contributions to Southern Highlands. You're going to scar our hillside permanently. You're going to disrupt our lives for a period of several years. And I know fully well the last house sold, that LLC is gone, and we are all left holding the bag because there's nowhere for us to go.
Are you doing pre-construction inspections of all the homes that are close by to the development?
You've got multi-million-dollar homes on the other side of you.
Because there's been damage when other construction was taking place recently in the area and nothing was done.
So
They blasted.
blasting requires a 500 foot survey. We're not blasting, so that requirement is not on us.
So that doesn't mean there's been no damage. There can be damage. You're basically saying if there's damage, it's just tough. That's just a part of development.
No, we're not saying that. What we're saying is we've got to look into, we know what the rules are for blasting, right? It's that 500-foot radius, and maybe there was problems beyond that 500 feet. I didn't do that other project that came in. What we're saying is we just need to look and see what code requires for non-blasting earthwork. That's what
It's pretty important if you're asking for waivers to completely ignore hillside and 80% of the land.
Hold on. Everybody's she was finishing her statement. I will come to you in just a minute. I think you had your hand up for a while, and then I will swing back over to this side.
Yeah, you're applying for 40 lots, and in the 5-acre lots that are, the 5-acre lots that are around in the communities, and there are approximately 20 to 24 lots on those things. So that's about 4 lots an acre. Why are you proposing so many lots on such a small piece of property?
On a hill.
On the hill.
You're asking for double of what the standard is.
Yeah.
We looked at the master plan and the zoning, which allows for that many lots. It's hard to.
Assuming you get
If we get waivers.
It's 20 years old.
Okay, I'm gonna swing back over to.
So you don't care?
So you're going to do an extra acre on top of grading. Is that in order to avoid blasting? Is that why you're doing that?
That's the gravel.
No, they're doing that to cash in on the money.
Not necessarily, it helps with
It's a money grab.
the wall height in the end not being as tall as we had talked about, that like kind of 42 feet. It allows it to step down. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question about the route that you outlined for your trucks, and you have them coming around and going up Jones. What are you going to do about the school times? You've got 48 truck trips that you're talking about. When freest school is being, when the kids are going and when they're coming home, both sides of the street have cars on them. There are children walking back and forth, and you're proposing 48 trips a day going up that street.
There's another one down by the Shell station. There's another crossover area too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let us look into that. I hear what you're saying. I've got little ones, so I understand what the pickup and drop off looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a grandma, I don't have little kids, but I'd hate to think of my child trying to cross the street with trucks going back and forth all the time, and cars on both sides of the street. My other question is, and I worked for developers for several years. I was director of design. What you're doing on those lots to clear the space with houses on both sides, to the question before, that is going to produce a tremendous amount of dust in the air, of debris in the air. What are you going to do to make it okay for the people whose houses flank that? I live in Brasado 1. Brasado 2 flanks up directly to that lot on the other side of Star. They're moving dirt around like crazy, and I thank my lucky stars that I didn't live in Brasado 2. So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to help these people?
So we have to comply with air quality. There's a sign that'll be posted out there. We're going to have to water the site. There's on wind advisory days, we cannot do work out there. There's other days where we would be prohibited, but we're going to comply with all the air quality measures that are enforced, and we're going to comply with them.
Yeah, but I'm talking about inside their homes as the dust settles in their homes.
So the fugitive dust can't go more than 100 feet from.
Right, we're responsible for it.
Yeah, we're responsible for it.
That there's houses directly, like right.
Yeah, I mean, right up against it.
When you say responsible for what? I mean, you're not gonna come to my house and clean out my pool, so you're responsible, but in what way?
To control what's defined as fugitive dust.
That's
Air quality, who asked the question? So I can look. Air quality sets forth what you can or can't do with dust. And so when we say we're gonna comply with air quality, it's pretty specific on what you have to do. You have to keep it watered down. There's the windy days like Tony talked about where they say you can't. Was that to you, sir? I keep looking at you.
It wasn't, it was someone's, I was just
I'm sorry.
specifically.
I'm staring at you and
I was asking if you guys to
sorry about
fine.
that.
He said you're responsible, and I said responsible with what?
Oh, that was you. Okay, yeah. So we're responsible for complying with what air quality says. That's what we mean when we say we're responsible for that. Air quality is very specific. If you look at the regulations, it's very specific on how far dust can or can't go.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He said, the gentleman said 100 feet.
Or the closest property line, whichever is closer. He wasn't able to finish what he was saying. So if you read the air quality rules, it's a distance or the closest adjacent property line, whichever is closer. So in that case, to your point, we would have to minimize it so it wouldn't be, fugitive dust wouldn't be going on to the adjacent properties because that's closer than 100 feet. Okay, yes, sir.
The demolition aspect of what you described is, how are they breaking up the rock?
With the mill, predominantly with this machine, the mill.
That breaks up the rock.
Yes. And then, as I mentioned, closer to the edges here, where this cannot get that close to the edge, it will be the hydraulic machine.
How many of those are running?
I don't know if we know that answer yet. Yes,
That's 6 months of that thing?
6 months.
Have you guys ever lived in a house that's near when that's running all day long?
For 6 months?
For 6 months? Yeah, you can't imagine.
Okay,
We can all imagine because we all remember.
Just for example, my house is, if you look up your map, my house is like 5282 Esperance, so if you go like, the bigger one's better, but anyway, so where that hillside is 100 feet, so you're trying to build 3 houses next to my property line.
These 3 here?
No, I'm down at the bottom.
Are you here?
That's mine, like right there.
So there's 2
That's
homes.
like, if you look at like vibration-damage.com, it flat out says the hydraulic hammer that you're planning on using, the mill that you're using, you're gonna have to use rollers, dozers, stuff like that. It's saying anything within 50 feet of pre-existing homes and structures will instantly cause damage. There's charts, there's studies, there's everything. I have a whole bunch that I can send you so like that's my wall from front to back. You're talking about 3 houses. And again, the elevation that you guys have online, which I get will change or can potentially change, the amount of damage that can happen to my home, my pool, like I printed up even like what my backyard looks like. You're damaging like pool, my house. I have 16-foot walls that have no other retaining support. So, and then you're trying to use those 20, not even 20 feet away from my whole backyard where I do have children. I do have little ones that are actually homeschooled. So listening to that all day long, how are we going to be able to continue on with
Quality of life.
exactly quality of life, like, and I get that work.
So between not just that, but also damage to our walls. I mean, our walls, we've lived in this house now for 12 years, and our walls are probably, I don't know, maybe 20 feet tall when we stand on our pool deck and look up. They're very tall. So, what are we supposed to do if you guys are running this equipment literally on the other side of these walls, and then what, do we just have to start fixing this stuff? Like, how is this gonna, if anything is damaged, what happens to this?
I have 2 more questions.
No, I think that we have to look into that and make sure that we're doing whatever the law says. And if the law says that we have to survey it, much like the blasting does, then that's like a before and after kind of situation, so that and we know how it started, then the earthwork starts. And then if something happens, we are on level playing field. So we're looking into that again. With the blasting, it's very obvious, the rules are just out there. So we are looking to see how that interplays with a non-blasting site. So we just don't have the answer right now, but I've heard and I've written down what you've said. I understand it completely.
I do have 2 more questions.
Yes.
So I guess like one of my follow-up questions is that I did call Stuckey and Frias. Where are like these kids supposed to go to school? Because when speaking to Frias and Stuckey, they said that most of their classrooms are already beyond capacity. So that's another problem. And then I guess my last question is, what are the price points going to be of these little tiny houses?
We don't have the price points yet because it's still
But you would
in
imagine
the
that they're
future.
going to be
So
350, maybe 400 on the high end if you're looking at less than 3,000 square feet.
it'd probably be more than that, but I don't have that number for you right now because we'd be guessing what it would be in 3 years. But relative to your school question, the kids get zoned to one of those schools. I mean, that's kind of the nature of how that works with zoning. And eventually they meaning the school district may redistrict all the schools in that area to, that's what happened over where we live, to kind of make the kids go to a school that maybe isn't as crowded if it's really over capacity. But the bottom line is they would be zoned for whatever school that site falls in. Okay, I'm gonna come to him because I said.
Speaking of schools, the entrance to Star Hills is right in front of your community. And the schools start like at 10 to 9 and parents start coming and then they dismiss at like 3:45, 4 o'clock. And 100 or more cars come down Star Hills to go to the school and about 100 come back. Are you gonna have any safety precautions right by your entrance and exit?
Like
Kids are gonna be driving on bicycles down that street and people walk their dogs and people take run down that street. Are you gonna have any safety precautions right by the front of your entrance and exit? You know, like signs?
Yeah, when you're
doing the construction.
When we're doing the construction,
Yeah.
and like a truck's coming out or something like that.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, I understand what the question is. Let me get the answer.
This is when you got 100 cars both ways, twice a day, every single
Will your
day.
trucks be moving in and out during the hours of drop off and pickup for school?
Yeah, I already wrote that down as a question.
So you don't have a planned hours like 6:30 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, and then do you have any plan on the time these trucks are going?
We have Desert Oasis there too, so it's high school. and-
Yep. It's high school, exactly, yes.
Well, and you have Tarkanian and you've got Tarkanian's on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna go up campus. Yeah.
That was part A. Okay. Part B's related. So you already asked for 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or you're requesting that or what?
For our construction hours, we still have to finalize that, but it would be.
So the county
daytime
allows
hours.
construction during
Daytime
daytime,
hours.
which is
I saw
allowed for
somebody
6
doing
a.m.
that.
to 10 p.m.
What is the
That's
time?
what daytime hours.
6 a.m. to 10 p.m. is how the county defines daytime hours.
They don't go in out.
That's how they define daytime. But I've noted it, I get what you guys are asking, you don't want the daytime hours. Okay, hold on, sir, right behind you, then I'll come back to you.
Are you gonna have to rip up Star Hills Avenue to connect to utilities?
Yeah, they're currently in front of Star Hills, so we're going to be improving it.
They're already, so we believe, no, we're not gonna have to rip it out, but we're gonna do the improvement to Star Hills with the curb gutter, sidewalk, everything to make it all connect that's to the east and to the west of us.
So it'll be one lane,
Yes, sir, in black.
So, okay, first, with all the questions, when can we expect answers for these questions? The following meeting or?
No, probably what will happen, we'll take this back. Some of these, to the extent that we can do it in a condition form, we can add conditions onto the application. As of right now, we're planning on moving forward on the 18th, as of right now. So that's why it's important to sign into that neighborhood meeting sheet. So if we do have a follow-up neighborhood meeting, we'll do it through that. Just one other thing that Tony didn't say in the very beginning, I've made a habit of saying this during my neighborhood meetings when I start. So we appreciate you guys giving us your personal information. There's phone numbers on there, there's email addresses on there, we appreciate it. We do not give this neighborhood meeting sign-in sheet out to anyone, not anyone. We use it only for our communication with you, if there's additional communication that has to come in. The reason I say that is because oftentimes other neighbors within a neighborhood meeting will ask to get a copy of it, and that's just not our information to give out. So I want to be upfront with that. If anybody else wants to do their own community sign-in sheet for your own purposes, that would be different than ours. Go back to answering your first question. As of now, we're planning on moving forward on the 18th, and we'll see what. at the county commission hearing. And then we'll see what kind of conditions, like we talked about the single story, you gotta nail some of those down. What other conditions we could place on the application that we think could work? I understand though there's an overwhelming sense of we don't like this. We've heard that, okay? So just because I'm writing down things that are condition specific doesn't mean that we haven't heard your concern or your tone. I don't want you to think I haven't heard that, but.
Right. With respect, I don't think necessarily we're here because we don't like the idea of development. Yeah. We don't like the idea of how it's going to affect our community and how it's not really going to add anything to our community as well. Yes. Bottom line for you guys, and I say respect, I respect business, right? But it doesn't add to the community for us at all. And not to mention the fact that what's allotted, you guys are asking to go double past that. You guys are asking for a mile when it was already agreed you can have a couple feet. So that's where we're frustrated about because it affects our daily way of life, family, kids, the older community in that area. And again, there's nothing coming back to our community that we can say, oh, okay, cool, well, at least it makes sense because now we have this. You guys are offering zero of that. This is all the bottom lines going to you guys, right? Yes. And again, I respect business. I respect people being able to grow and, you know, the American dream. But again, you guys are not adding anything to our community. If anything, you're going to, for 6 months, the construction in Star Hills is going to be a nightmare. And when you guys add to building that street, you guys are going to force us to go down to 1 lane. So again, that's where the frustration comes from. Yeah. And it doesn't help where, unfortunately, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but you do have this resting face that's very clear. You're showing you don't really give a shit. So maybe I say this respectfully because I'm in customer service and sometimes it's really hard for me to agree with some of the people in front of me because the customer is not always fucking right. Period, right? But you're not helping. You're not. You're over here with this attitude like, oh, God, these stupid questions. That's not helping. Like, even your smirk right now is condescending, passive aggressive. I'm not trying to be confrontational. I'm just pointing out the obvious. You might want to have a different approach on how you're treating the community and speaking to us.
I think the main part, though, is that we don't feel it's been neighborly because you're asking for waivers to create 40 lots. Yeah. That negates the Title 30, which was just updated again in 2020, reinforcing the aspect of hillside development. And I think that's the problem. If you came to us and said, hey, you know, we're looking to build here. We're not going to cut too much in the mountain, and we're proposing this. But it doesn't feel like that when 80% of the lot is considered hillside.
Nothing's coming back to us.
No. Lady in the stripes.
Why don't you rethink your plan? Because the shoving the 40 houses on us that look like matchboxes, and the rest of the houses look nice. Why don't you elevate the way you think and put in 6 nice luxury properties? Great landscaping, you know, and everything else. You still make, sell them at $750, you'll still make a lot of money, you know? And then you go, oh wow, look at that developer, he made really nice, cool houses. Well, welcome to our neighborhood. So, you know, you don't go in and you'll make a good name for yourself instead of people going, oh my God, this guy, he made, little itty bitty matchbox.
Lady in the stripes.
I think to build off of some of the points that have been said here, there's a little bit of context of like, we've had a ton of development in the area very recently. We just won this pseudo award of being the best master plan community. Our schools are at capacity. We have 1 grocery store, no community center. The parks are underdeveloped. They're ripping up, we feel like we have nothing and we're getting like a ton of development added into these parcels. This could be up to 1,500 people added in. I don't know where they're gonna go. Like, if there's someone from Southern Highlands here, like, please let the HOA, please let me know, because I don't see any master plan in our area.
But this isn't part of Southern
And this is a part of like the quality of life.
Right. They don't care because it doesn't affect them.
The way around it, but like,
which is great.
Already went there.
What I'm hearing you saying is it's a cumulative effect. With everything else that's going on, and then we're coming in with this. But one thing I just wanted to nuance that you said, this development wouldn't have 1,500 people. You mean like all these other developments that are coming in?
I mean 40 homes?
Yeah, 40
And
homes.
how many people in a home?
Somewhere between 1 and 3. Yeah. So you have it the most like 6 years. It would be 15 bedrooms. It would be 15. Okay, yes, in the white.
Can you get?
Yes, in the brown, sorry.
Okay, I wanted to piggyback on what you said. I have little kids at Frias. We live right off of Star Hills. My family also owns dirt and gravel trucks. I'm very familiar with these trucks, belly dumps, end dumps, all of this stuff going down this very narrow road at all times of day. Usually construction ends around 2, normally depends on the site and things. The amount of windshields that are going to be cracked open by flinging rocks back, little ones in not great situations. I mean, just picking up and dropping off right now at Frias is a nightmare, like we've all said before. Has this job been bid out already as far as trucking? Because it's further down. And I couldn't hear you. Is the dirt going to that Las Vegas paving pit, or you said it's going up Cactus? And where are they dumping?
Cactus Jones, basically, right? Or Torrey Pines. Yeah. Torrey Pines and.
You're sure they're not building West Ridge Access Road right now?
Right.
They're already doing construction.
So right here is the railroad, it'd be over by Torrey Pines and Cactus area.
And how many pounds of dirt and all that fun stuff?
96.
We have 100,000 cubic yards total.
Yeah, that's a lot of material. That's a lot of dust. Okay.
Did you have?
I do have a question now. From the last time y'all were here, you didn't have the drainage plans on that hillside. So with 40 homes, last night, was it yesterday that it rained? No, yesterday it was like flash rain.
Yeah, yesterday.
And it was like puddles along Star, all around. Yeah. So
Rushing down the road, yeah.
building 40 houses, it's just, there's a reason why there's an ordinance for that hillside. 2 houses for an acre because of that. Because of the things that they've done before. So you can't say, oh, waivers, because they did it last time. They approved it last 2000, year 2000, 2006. It cannot apply to this hillside because of what's the effect of the drainage, the rain. When it rains, there's floods, flash floods all around. And it was very visible on Star Hills. So the question is, there's a reason why there's 2 houses for an acre that it's the law, like you said, it's the law. Why change it? Why change it?
And you were challenged by the Enterprise Town Board for that exact reason. He was the person that brought it up, one of the members right there. And that was a challenge to you guys to come up with something and let us know what you came back with. And that's why I'm kind of shocked that you've had 2 denials now, and it's the same information. Sorry to speak up, but.
Okay, well, this gentleman, and then I'll turn back around.
Yeah, I mean, we bought in Rosado 2 back in February, and we looked at a lot of ways the place could have developed, and part of it was the hill and everything else. And I think for us, really, we get it's private property, it's going to get developed. But those waivers should not even be requested. I mean, the regulations are in place for a reason, like we said before. We relied on that when we bought this house. If I knew 40 units were going in there, I wouldn't have bought the house. I mean, I'm living in, there's a difference between building 40 units and 20 units or whatever. So the frustrating part, at least for me, is that we looked at all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, we actually got a postcard in the mail the day of the meeting here at Enterprise. We knew nothing about any of this. So that's where my frustration is.
No, in green, Packers. Go Packers.
Yeah, we moved from Inspirata. Unfortunately, we bought it in Inspirata in 2019 when they were just building. So we're used to all the construction, and there's a lot of construction that goes on. Unfortunately, I said we built in 2019. I say unfortunately because they're still building around us. A few years later, we got all cracking. So all these people living next door where you're building, they are going to get cracking. They are going to get cracking on the walls. You can't have a 30-year-old wall and do your hydraulic jacks and not have cracking on those concrete walls. The concrete's going to give on those blocks. That's common sense. Also, the parking. Again, I came from Inspirata, and again, I bought it too soon. That's why we moved to Versado, because you got 4 to an acre houses, so it's really nice. 8 to an acre happened in Inspirata, and the parking was ferocious. Sorry, the wrong word, was terrible. There are people parking on the streets, there are people parking everywhere. They're parking where they shouldn't be parking because they didn't have room in their own parking areas to park. 2 cars to house, maybe 1960 they had 2 cars to the house. But the person next to me has 3 or 4 cars, the person on the other side of me has 5 cars to their house. 2 cars to house is, you're not living in the 21st century, that's what you think. 1 to 3 people in a house, again, you're not living in the 21st century. People next to you have multiple people. Again, it's just unrealistic to assume that one person's going to live in a 3-bedroom house. Not going to happen. I lost my train of thought, otherwise I can know some more stuff.
Okay, yes, right there.
How are you justifying the request for the waiver?
How are we justifying our request for the waiver for the hillside stuff?
Yeah, is it being done somewhere else?
Well, I suppose it's done through the public hearing process, of which the town board that you went
I'm gonna get
to.
worded right, like how are you justifying changing it?
Like, what's our argument?
The developer, yeah.
What's the developer's argument?
Yes.
Yes, I said it, I get that nobody likes what I'm saying or agrees with what we're saying. But what I've said is the developer looked at the master plan, and the master plan and the zoning of it allowed for 8 units to the acre. And with the hillside ordinance relative to the zoning for the developer, I'm not saying you guys are gonna agree with this, I'm just saying, the zoning for the developer is what he looked at, and that is what drove the design of the plan. But that then requires us to ask for waivers of the hillside ordinance.
I think I can help you with that. I write appraisals for a real estate appraiser. So the thing is this, the RS3 is a land use code. That defines what can be built in that specific spot. The problem is with this lot is that it is an RS3, which is 8 acres, 8 to an acre. The problem is the hill. So on the one hand, they have the justification because of the land use code to put in 40. The reality of the hillside usage is preventing them from getting to 40. It's limiting them to 10.
So that's another ordinance, but
Another
just
waiver.
in our location, because if you look at other locations in the valley, it's not a problem to build on the hillside because it's a bigger lot.
Correct.
Got it.
So they agree
how it's
at a much slower rate, and the land destruction of doing only 10 lots on each side is significantly less.
Yeah.
Because right now, we're talking about Star Lily or Star Hills on the one side, Montauk Maroon on the other. We have about 20 to 24 homes in the same 5-acre spot. So using what was approved 20 years ago to jump to 40 is not a logical argument. But the land use code is what they're using to justify that, and that's the problem.
And the slopes are different too.
Well, yeah, of course, but they're using the land code to override the issue with the hillside. The other thing is, what I really encourage you guys to do is look at the renderings. Pull the renderings up of these houses. Look at them. You're going to live next to this. No, it's serious. This is serious. Our house values are going to plummet.
The 2-story up here and the 1-story.
Look at them.
Very big. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up. So this side, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this right here. This will be kind of the group. So I'll move this way. Yes.
Can you state how many waivers you have now? Some minutes?
Yeah.
We'll pull up on the staff report and we'll come back and
13,
that.
14 somewhere.
Yes, in the green. Then I'll
So, again, where my property is, you guys are hitting on using water, obviously, anti-dust and drilling sheets and stuff.
You're on the west side, right?
I am, so I'm like that one house that goes all the way.
Yes.
I get 3 of you. But what about like the leaching that's gonna come through my wall, and then when the houses are completed, when they have their landscape against that wall, the leaching that's gonna keep coming through, is there gonna be some sort of like water barrier that you guys?
There's a wash. Don't you have a wash?
Remind me where you, so when I looked at it, and I just want to know, I just want to make sure I'm thinking of where your house is, and I might be wrong,
I have a picture if you wanna see it.
isn't there a small wash, for
There is
lack of a
a
better way of describing it?
That's a lot.
Problem is, when you guys start building and you guys start doing the grade, right? People are gonna start landscaping and start building against all of that.
Yeah, but wait, that goes for a minute, let me answer my question just so I can, because I've seen it. I've seen the wall, and then outside the wall on your development,
There's a
I've
wash.
seen a little drainage something,
I can show you where it goes compared to mine, so I have a picture of it.
Yes, afterwards come up and just let me look at it, just so that I can see how it transitions, that wash thing.
It's only that, those first houses, like when you go on Asperon.
Over by you.
Those first houses on Asperon, and it's to that.
And then it comes back and kind of goes away,
And that is.
and then it's just the wall.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a, yeah.
Okay, all right, now I understand.
So it's the houses on Ramet.
The ones that are a little lower.
No, they're up higher. The ones up higher, because the wash is at the bottom.
So where mine, I don't have a block wall, I have a wrought iron fence.
Right.
So I'm not that, the single story, that's me, right there. So I don't have a block wall, I have the wrought iron, so everything that you're gonna do, I have rocks.
You have the 3-tier.
I have the 3-tier, and they're rocks. So my house, my backyard is built into that mountain.
Right.
So I'm very concerned, even with the hydraulics or whatever, because those rocks, I mean, so I have nothing that protects any water.
Oh, God.
Any boulders, any dust, dirt, anything. I have zero protection.
Okay, I understand. Okay, I'm gonna come this way, and then I'm going back. Go ahead, sir, in the blue. And then you.
I'm curious about the development.
You really need-
How many projects has he developed in Las Vegas, like what we're talking about?
He's got, so he's born and raised here in Las Vegas. He's had a ton of businesses, as we talked about earlier. One of them is like the dirt business. He's developed multifamily, he's developed office, he's developed industrial, and he's been partners in residential development.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas, and he's been partners in residential development. So I'd have to find out where those partnerships were for the residential stuff.
And how long has he been in business?
No, those have all been in Las Vegas. They're all Las Vegas.
How long has he been established in Vegas?
They're 30 plus years. 30 plus years. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, we'll come back to her question, yeah, thank you.
Okay, I actually wanted to thank everyone for coming today, because it's nice to actually finally meet my neighbor since I moved here like a year and a half ago. Yeah, I'm from Montana.
One way to meet everybody is
So I wanted to piggyback on this gentleman's question, actually, on what you were saying. So how many of you, I just want to ask the group here, how many of you guys have ever lived in a 1,200 square foot house? By show of hands. Okay, now, okay, apartment, okay, so, because you know, as, you have more voice if you speak as one versus separately. So, a lot of us have lived in that kind of house, right? So then my other question is, didn't we graduate to a bigger house in a dream? Okay, now, how many of you, because I live with my mom, because I love my mom. How many of you, yeah, I came here just to be with her, actually. Yeah, great son, right? So my question here is, how many of you guys have those great Las Vegas houses that have a lot of storage in them? A lot of storage space. So what do you use for your storage space? Because I'm thinking probably the garage, right?
Garage, yeah.
Okay, so this goes to your question, sir. So how many of you guys got metro shelving in your garage? Okay, so how many cars are going in there?
Yeah.
And now you throw kids into the mix that are learning to drive.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got two, because mom and dad got to have a car. And then son's got to have a car because he's got to go out on dates. Daughter's got to have a car because she's going to college. And then we got to run those kids to school. Hello.
1 to 3 kids.
But this is what I'm saying. So where are they going to put them cars? On the street.
Star Hills Avenue.
They're going to put it on Star Hills Avenue.
Well, the problem is, like in Dupree, where I live, our townhouses, we have very small streets. We have parking on one side. We have 0 driveways. 0.
Right.
Not one driveway. So that means there is nothing but 2 cars.
Yep.
That's it. That's all you get. I don't know how many times people have moved into our neighborhood and they're like, oh, we need a permit for a 3rd car. I'm like, girlfriend, I have to build an underground garage to put all these cars in, because I literally
on any given street can legally park maybe 10 or 15 cars on the one side, and my streets are way longer than this.
Yep.
And I police it, our board polices it, our committee polices it. We tow people constantly. It's a fight every day. If they don't police this, it's gonna be a disaster.
May I state, so we live on Casinas, right? That's a small street like that, right? I got a guy across my street. I love my neighbor to pieces. He's got his son, his brother, his wife, and him, his construction car. He's got 6 cars. And that's just one guy.
Okay, I'm gonna I said I'd try to do this in an hour. So the lady right here in the flower shirt,
Can I be last?
you wanna be last. Okay, then you're calling it. I got the final 3.
I do have another important question after.
Gentleman standing out.
Okay, so I think I can help a bunch with this guy with you not looking happy. I don't care. I don't care about how much my house is gonna be worth less when you guys are done.
Exactly.
Here's how you guys can get this.
Well,
How about we put up a good faith bond for all damages done to our homes?
That was my
Because
question.
I promise you, my wall and my pool that are now 20 years old, and I ride right up against that property, I've done plenty of construction in my day. There is a 0% chance you are not going to damage my walls and my pool. So now I have to get a lawyer to come after each other.
That's correct.
Wouldn't it make everybody in this room feel a lot better and make you seem like a good neighbor if you go, yeah, of course we're not putting 40 homes. We're asking for 40, hoping for 25, because we know we should only be putting 20. How about build like this gentleman said, build much larger, more expensive, nicer homes with more yard. It would be much easier. And put up some good faith money saying, you know what, I promise you, Mr. Lawrence, we're not gonna damage your property. And if we do, we will have money set aside to fix it instead of disappearing in the night. Or saying, well, you know, maybe your wall was broken before we came in.
Yeah.
And doing pre-inspections would probably help you guys more than it would help us. And I think that would make a lot of people feel a lot better about your product.
Lady with the group.
On Dahlia Grove, or lot number 51, right there. So basically, when I'm on my nice balcony enjoying the view I used to have, you're gonna be right on the other side of that window. That's how close you are to my property. When you're doing all this jackhammering for 6 months, there's no way I'm not gonna get covered in dust. There's no way things are, our walls, our retaining walls are, we're very, very concerned.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, fine, this gentleman, then you,
Is
okay?
it gonna last when it's over, or are they mining, doing other kinds of activities there for 2 years or more?
What was the question?
The gravel pit, the temporary gravel pit, how long is it gonna be there? And after development is done, how long are you guys gonna continue to excavate?
Oh, no. The request for the gravel pit is only to do the dirt work for the construction of the project. It's not meant to be or will be in operation for a traditional gravel pit where it would just mine all the dirt and sell it, mine all the dirt and sell it, mine all the dirt and sell it. The only reason why it's there is to tear up the streets for the development.
What's preventing you guys from not continuing to like mine the BLM land once you get that permits?
The agreement that we have with the BLM caps the amount of dirt, these are my words, I'm not a dirt person, you would probably throw in the right language, but it caps the amount of cubic yards that we take.
And are the dirt and noise standards different for a gravel pit than they are for residential housing developments?
Is the dirt?
Like, can you have louder decibels because it's technically an industrial type of process versus regular?
Oh, I see what you're asking. No, I don't think so. Air quality is air quality. No. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Those are good questions.
Is that guaranteed that when the construction's done, so's the pit?
Well, yeah, because we're not gonna have a pit. You know, like if you think of Wells Fargo or something that has the pit, none of that occurs. The only reason why they're doing the dirt work is to tier the walls and the lots themselves into the hill. It's not like a pit.
So they don't have to build as much of a retaining wall.
That's right.
So it's at the upper part of the hill, so they've got to dig more dirt out.
That's right.
To avoid the hill.
And they're going to
If
have
that dirt out, you would probably cut down the dirt loose.
Say it again.
If they could cut the dirt out, put the retaining wall instead of a
Yeah.
gravel pit.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a catch-22 because then it's super crazy tall wall, like a crazy tall wall. But I get it, I hear what you guys are saying. It would be against that north
Right,
side.
instead of having an acre of no man's land behind it.
I don't know.
It's destroyed.
Not
I'm
saying.
just curious.
Okay, so wait. Go back, wait, she left before I gave her the answer.
No, she's right.
No, she's right there.
Where's she?
Right there.
You are asking for a gravel pit, is that correct?
Hold on, where's the lady that asked
See
the?
that, see that.
She did,
No,
okay.
yeah, last, I'm last.
No.
It's just a
There was
term.
a lady that asked a question that we said we were gonna go
You're
back to.
asking for a gravel pit, is that not correct?
Yes, it's a temporary gravel pit to move the.
So you will have a gravel pit.
Yeah, but it's not, unfortunately, I wish the county had
An appropriate term.
term for this, because everybody's mind, rightly so, goes to pit, like a big hole in the
Well,
ground,
you need to
right?
change the terminology.
Oh,
Is that
believe
what
me,
you
I
need?
tried on that.
A gravel pit,
Yeah,
which we don't want.
Which I think one of the things that we've thought about on that, and again, layered in with your concerns with the whole project, or the number of units, I should say, is like maybe a condition about that we can't process the materials on site. So the other part of a gravel pit, it's not just about removing dirt, it's about what you do with the dirt. So one of the ways that we were thinking to try to, because we talked to the county about the gravel pit term and just what that means to people and what we're not doing. And so I think that there are conditions where we could add them on to narrow what we're doing on the site to just be earthwork and not any of the processing or any of that. None of that would occur on site. It's not your traditional gravel pit. It is only to tier the lots for the homes. That's all.
How much of the top are you taking off of the hill?
It's not going for, it's not the one where it's on the, and it's more like it's.
Half pound, guys.
Who wants to be more?
She's our leader.
Two are fighting.
No, she's saying
The hill. But where the last house is in Montauk Maroon and the last house is in
Okay,
Star
let us
Hills
answer this
Cross.
question, and then I'm gonna go to this lady, and then I'm gonna go to this lady right here, and then we'll wrap it, or at least our part can be over if you guys wanna keep the room.
Are you gonna stay there?
No, you guys can keep the room, you won't have your own conversation. Oh, okay, that'd be nice. Okay, yes.
I just wanted to say, I appreciate you being here. I have no dog in this fight because I don't even live anywhere near this place. But I want you to understand and hear what these people have to say because this really affects their livelihood. This house that they live in right now, this is maybe their last investment and they don't have wiggle room to make all these repairs. Maybe they're working 2 and 3 jobs. This is an emotional subject. This is something that, affects everyone, really. And I read up on Mr. Peterson, and to me, he seems like a reasonable person. And call it a dream, if you will, but couldn't you just take that land and make it into like an exploration peak, a community gardens, a place where the schools can have field trips, planting, learn about wildlife and all these things that go on out there. You can go hiking up there, you can have yoga and coffee and learn and meet your neighbors. All these people are here for a reason. And I mean, I lived in Southern Highlands since it was a dirt lot. And I came from California, don't hate me. But what we've seen here is the congestion and the dust and the worry of the existing homeowners. And their views are gonna be gone. And we used to be able to ride our ATV and leave from our house and go out to the desert and ride a telephone pole. And now everything's blocked. There's not enough dog parks. There's, God forsake, not enough supermarkets. We all know that. But there's people and development and development and development. We've lived through 25 years of development. And I'm not saying that obviously you made an investment in this property, but with the things that you have to do and change for all of these people, is it really worth it? Or can Mr. Peterson take one for the team? Really He talks about things, donating, doing things, Habitat for Humanity and things like that. What if he would hear us in that? So I just want to say, just put that out there. It's probably a dream, but I appreciate you being here.
I work with attorneys on a daily basis, so I know what it's like to be up there and be an attorney and really take this and hear all the criticisms and things like that. I want to commend Jennifer for taking the bull by the horns on this for the community. And we really see and hear what these people have to say. I live way over by Smith, so I got no dog in this fight other than it said Shinnecock, and I was like, oh my God, it could affect me. But it's 25 years of, overgrowth, if you will. And we just need, just maybe hear us, help us out, understanding, but I really feel for these people because their pools, their views, the congestion, the schools, everything out there is overcrowded. And like the other gentleman said, it does nothing for the rest of us. I know it'll make millions for these people.
Right.
Really consider developing this and making it into some kind of community park that people can go to, and then you won't have to cut in, dust, all these retaining walls. Thank you for your help.
So I'm not sure if you guys are aware about the construction access road that's happening right across from the lot.
Where the Las Vegas paving thing is.
And so that's going to be an access road?
No?
It's right across, just right across the way.
Oh, the one that goes behind.
Yeah, it's across, literally across. And that's going to be an access road for an 189 home development. So how are you going to work with them with construction? Because their construction trucks are going to be accessing there along with yours. How, that road is going to be blocked. And I want to know what plan, are you contacting that development? Are you working with the city in any way to work together? Because you could tell us your schedule, but what's the schedule with that development in the future? Because I'm trying to find out information. I'm calling the county, finding out when that access road will be completed, and then their construction trucks are going to be going through there. At the same time, yours are. How would that be possible for that road to withstand all of that traffic? And a lot of people don't know about that here. I have a group and I'm trying to explain that not only do we have this construction project, we have another one going on.
There's two on the other side of Star.
Lennar.
And they're literally across the street from each other.
It's for Lennar West.
And the other
Lennar
issue that
Westridge,
you guys
yes.
are gonna have with Jones, I know you're thinking about taking Jones to Cactus, but you really need to be careful because coming out of that and making that U-turn and stuff, there have been so many T-bone intersection accidents right where those kids are crossing, right where everything's happening because none of them are controlled. They have stop signs, but I'm telling you, day after day, that road, Jones, is dangerous. It's dangerous, and you're gonna have, it's gonna be a nightmare because I watch accidents happen on that street almost at least every day, and somebody's getting T-boned. Your trucks are gonna get involved in all of this crap, and then it's another problem.
And as before the Cactus, I mean, on Jones and Somerset, it's just a living nightmare.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, is all those, yeah. It's gonna be a problem.
We'll reach out to the builder on that and see. I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna be honest with you, I don't know.
I think it's Lennar and Greystone.
Yeah, it's Westridge, Lennar. I have the documents, I can just send you guys the link to it. It's right on their sign.
Do you have other stuff? Did you want to?
It depends on how long you guys want to stay. I'm happy to talk to the group afterwards, but
I'd really like you to show the renderings and leave them up, though. People need a chance to look at them.
For our part, we're gonna wrap up the meeting. We've been going for an hour and a half. I know that there may be a couple things for us to talk about, and you guys we rented the room, but we will leave the room so that you guys can have conversations.
Yeah, I think I want to know, I guess, the next steps before September 18th. So you're not going to change anything up or any design plans?
What we've heard today, okay? We'll take everything that we heard, the sign-in sheet was here.
Yeah, where's?
Right here. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we're gonna take everything that we heard today, we'll take it back to the developer, and we'll see what comes out of that. My gut, and I just like to be honest and straightforward, my gut tells me that we're gonna present at the BCC or Board of County Commissioner meeting on September 18th, so hear me now, please show if you guys are able to do that. But we'll try to do as many of the conditions as we can, if there are things that we can do
I don't know that I can get us to a place where everybody in here agrees.
No, not with the hillside ordinance, yeah.
You have my commitment that we will have those conversations, and then the things that I heard that are things we can do, then we would add in as conditions onto the application. But you have my word that we'll take everything back, put good notes, we'll talk through it, see what we can.
You're still gonna go for the 40 lots regardless on September 18th?
We're gonna take everything back that we heard and see what we can do.
Can you recap with us what you feel are the things that you'll be taking back?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So.
Please don't leave yet.
Yeah, don't leave.
Okay, so, again, so just because I don't write that there's a concern, or I don't read that there's a concern with the number of lots, believe me, I heard you, okay, but the stuff that I'm taking back, there's a concern with the number of lots that we have. There's a concern with the amount of waivers that we have for the hillside ordinance, but that really dovetails into the number of lots we have. There's a concern with location of single-story homes. There were some additional asks, like even though it might not be right next to where adjacent single-story homes were, kind of at the top. We have truck traffic during school drop-off and pickup. I've got to check on this Lennar project that's across the street. I just want to better understand where they're coming in and out of too. It's a fair point. The damage, I know that's a big one, is, if whatever machinery we use, how will we handle or address if there are problems with cracking of walls or pools or whatever that may be? How is there a plan that we could put together for that and understand what we would do? There was a question about what will be our construction hours. Damaged properties, I heard you want parks, I did write that, I know. And then let me make sure I've got it all. Oh, there was a concern about parking, on the streets, so we'll look at what that is. Let's see here. And drainage, so on the drainage. You asked about drainage, right? On the drainage, I believe the staff report requires us to do a drainage study. And I mean, maybe if you guys have been surrounded by development for so long, you know this, but drainage studies and traffic studies are only required for us to put them in if the project is approved. So it only happens if the project is approved, then before you can do anything with the site, you have to do, it is a drainage study, right?
Yeah, for the building.
Oh, it's even more, yeah.
want me to see those first two.
Okay, so we have to do a drainage study in compliance, but again, we only do this if the project's approved. So we do it after the fact, but before any permits are pulled. Has to be completed and turned in, and staff has to agree with it or approve it or accept it. And then there's a second condition relative to the fact that it's a hillside. Drainage study must demonstrate that the proposed grade elevation differences outside that allowed by section, and it cites a code section, are needed to mitigate drainage through the site. So basically, it's saying you've got to also study the fact that you're tiering the development and how does that impact drainage. So yes, that was a question about drainage studies, but my answer would be back to that it's addressed through a condition. Like I wouldn't be able to address that ahead before any kind of a hearing. Okay, did I get it? Oh, yes, you're there.
Yes,
Yes.
All right. So we have the use permit for the temporary gravel. Then we have 4 waivers. The first waiver is related to the hillside ordinance. The second waiver is related to the, sorry?
What is it? The waiver?
It's to increase the maximum allowed site disturbance for the slope exceeding 12% and the hillside to 100% when 50% is permitted. Increase the maximum allowed site disturbance for the slope exceeding 25% in the hillside to 100% where the maximum of 35% is permitted. The second portion is, the second waiver is related to the increase in wall height. The third waiver is the asking for the attached sidewalk that I mentioned versus the detached. The fourth one is a landscape waiver to the north. So the land, the BLM property is zoned at a less intense use, so you're supposed to put landscaping adjacent to that, so just be in our backyard, we're asking to waive that. Then we have 6 design reviews. One is the temporary gravel pit, which is also the use permit. Number 2 is our driveway locations internal to the site. For example, this lot right here is a good example. The driveway location to the lot line should be 6 feet. Ours is at about 5.5 feet. So it's an internal waiver for a few lots. That's, or I guess it's characterized as a design review. Then we have, reduce the dedication of the street width to 30 feet instead of 50. That's what I explained. Star Hills on the highway, Master Streets and Highways plan is 100 feet. So that meaning we'd have to dedicate 50, but to the west and east of us have only dedicated 30. So we're asking just to match that instead of having 30, 50, and 30.
So you're matching the existing sidewalk on both sides?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, we would have to dedicate 50 feet, and so we'd be 20 feet, yeah. The next one is the increase in grade. That's where I showed you those green, on the green where the lot elevations are. So we're asking to increase that above the 36 inches. And then the final is the site plan review for, so the 40 lots. And that's the application. Then we do have the vacation and abandonment application, which is just, the site has what's called patent easements around them. So it's 33, every lot that's released from the government retains on the inside 33 feet around it, should there ever need to be streets, railroad, etc. This property doesn't need it, so we're asking to vacate that. And then we have a tentative map as the final portion, which is maps the 40 lots and the common elements and the landscape areas, etc. So that's the entire application.
What's the current ordinance right now at the hillside with how many homes? That's
2. If you're disturbing the hillside, it's 2.
With the 5 acres, was it 20 homes? 10.
So anything in the hillside or anything within the hillside says 2 units to the acre.
So that's what the ordinance says right now.
That's correct.
So it's supposed to be 10 homes, what the ordinance says right now, and you want to do 40.
So I think it's I think it's it's either 14 or 16 that would be, so there's the bottom acre, so that theoretically you could build 8 without disturbing the hillside. Yeah.
Like it's not considered a hill. Like
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you enter into the 80%. That's would be where, so like 8, so that's like 16 lots, I think would be the, or 18, I'm sorry, 18
And I think that's one of the most main concerns.
Can you guarantee not having a blast if the machinery doesn't work? The vehicle issue? Core samples, we saw you guys did a core sample some years ago.
We agreed to a condition for.
So you guys, the core samples have been done, and you can definitely build damn many homes here.
The core samples were taken in the bottom.
Yeah, I saw that. They never, they walked away, there's no way.
They went like.
Yeah, they were like, not even a quarter way up the mountain. That's a pretty big mountain, you guys know.
That's a difference.
It's like all of a sudden you hear an explosion, oh, wait a minute, we couldn't do it.
No, we're gonna.
That's a good question. I mean, if you're forced to blast.
It's absolutely correct.
We're agreeing to no blasting, so what that means is if we cannot, for whatever reason, make the earth material work, we cannot go to blasting. The only way you could do that is file a waiver of condition, which means a new public hearing, and now I'm trying to explain blasting, which is the last thing I want to do. Do it later, so.
And then also, can you write a concern that for him to look at our neighborhoods, at our architecture?
Ugly houses.
You know, what is ugly, right? And what you are planning on putting in the middle of our beautiful community?
That's an army barracks.
Because it doesn't even look, it's, I mean, aesthetics are aesthetics, I get that, but that's a, like, not even.
If I could say one thing, right? So when I was growing up, you know, mom's was a crackhead, father wasn't around. I slept in the streets 3 years, rooftops, benches, wherever I could find a decent night's sleep. As a homeowner, I have a big frustration about the lack of aesthetic and effort in the actual properties that are going up on your development because it looks so basic. And you said, you know, the homeowners have an opportunity to upgrade it, et cetera, et cetera. those homes, I'm sorry, like, our neighbors up in the golf course, Randy Couture, Floyd, like, you have celebrities that live in our neighborhood, and you're putting these little ass homes in our neighborhood that are gonna plummet our value. Not the millionaires that live in the golf course, the regular guys, right? And I don't know about how you guys grew up, but as a homeowner, my sense of pride is through the roof, because I know people that still live in the same apartment that they were living in when we were children. And now at 47 years old, to be able to say I own my own house, it's a big deal. And when you guys are putting up shitty properties like that don't belong in the same neighborhood, like, do you guys understand, like, the American, like I said, I'm all about it, like the American dream. You guys should be able to capitalize and build. You guys, somebody in some form or another made a good decision and pushed it to where you guys can afford to do this. I didn't have that luxury growing up. I am a self-made person, right? No role models apply. And now I have to worry about this taking away from the value, taking away from my retirement when I get older, right? You understand where I'm coming from?
I hear you.
So it's like, you know, and I appreciate the way you express that, because it was a lot better than when you started. But now put yourself in somebody's shoes, like my shoes. I don't know how you grew up, so I'm not judging you. I don't know how she grew up, he grew up. You guys could have probably had a worse story than mine, right? But what I'm saying is, like, you understand why we're struggling with this, because it's like, it's not for, there's nothing coming back to us whatsoever, the homeowner. Instead, it's gonna ruin my property value.
Well, I understand. I know. I think for most of us, or at least me, I'll put the biggest asset I have, or whatever, is my home. Right. That's my biggest.
So did you drive our neighborhoods? Did you look at the neighborhoods on both sides? Are you sure?
I am.
Are you sure?
I'm just saying the creativity of what that property looks like. And I say this respectfully, because I think everybody should have the luxury of at least, if they're willing to work for it, to own their own home. But that lack of creativity in the neighborhood that I work so damn hard to get into, it's not conducive to, there's nothing organically of how it fits in our neighborhood. So that's something, go back to the developer, you guys should remind them, like, this isn't Northtown, you know? It's not Naked City, like, y'all could do better with, you could definitely step that up, because that doesn't belong in our community. We've earned the right. Like, we've earned it. I know for me, blood, sweat, and tears to get to where I am at this point in my life. You understand what I'm saying? So thank you.
I wrote it down.
How are you gonna keep where are you gonna get your water from?
You said
to
3
keep the dust
years, is
down?
that what you would?
We have to apply to the Southern Nevada Water Authority.
Okay, because like Lenore across the street has two big
What I'm
tankers there,
asking.
and they're tapped,
There's two different questions going on.
and they're tapped into the fire hydrant down at Olympia Park. So there's not a fire hydrant in your area, so I'm trying to figure out where would you tap into water to get it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You want me to hold them up for you, Richard?
I don't know that answer. I'll have to look into it.
You want me to hold them up for you while you talk?
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.
Please stay behind, everyone, if you want to chat further.
All right, before you leave, I took these pictures.
Yeah, everyone feel free to stay.
I want you to see some of these pictures of the
Yeah.
homes that all those people were talking about.
So everyone, please stay if you want to chat a little bit further.
You've seen before if you've attended any meetings. That's the lot.
Oh, no. 6 months is just the excavation.
No, I know. This is the angle of the hill from my house on Romette. Romette is the one against their development. This is the hill from the front of Romette. It's the front of the houses. This is the view from one of the gentlemen over there, my next door neighbor. His backyard, his pool, and all of the houses are going to be built right on top of him looking down into his pool.
Richard?
Yes?
This meeting on the 18th?
Yes. You're like 3 minutes per person.
I think so. Oh, so we do get a chance to speak?
Yes.
Only 3 minutes.
What time is it? What time is it?
All right, here's another one of the angle. And here's the most dramatic one. This is also from one person who's here. Well, he lives next door, but I took it on this angle. Take a look at this, because this is the hill. And it comes down this way. The angle is down this way. In other words, the house is here. So they're showing you the angle this way, but this comes down towards this house, and they're gonna be doing their work right on top. If anything falls there, these two homes have 3,000-foot boulders making up their wall.
Yep.
If any of those dislodge, they destroy the fence, the pool, they will have
Possibly
pools,
kill someone.
everything.
Possibly kill
Now,
someone.
one more question. He didn't show it. It was in the plans. I couldn't find it, but I figured it out. How wide do you think these houses are?
Oh, they're gonna be like, what are they, 14 feet if that?
No, the house. How wide do you think the house
It's 3
is?
feet, it looks like it's 3
They're like mobile homes,
feet from their.
Not from it.
boundary wall.
Just the house
He's talking
itself.
about the footprint of the house.
The footprint of the house, how wide do you think? I know my house, it's 60 by, it's 60 by whatever.
20
it is.
feet?
Well, how big is the lot? 40?
Almost every house is 30 feet wide.
30?
Do you know how small 30 feet is?
If you live,
A lot is 40,
if you
their house
live
is
in-
30.
If you live in Montana Marone, cut your lot in half.
Right,
On
cut
the-
your
on
lot,
the-
cut your house in
what,
half.
6,000 square foot lot.
Not only are
Phenomenal.
they 30, but the small ones, the 1,200s are 30 by
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
And they have 11 by 11 bedrooms. Now put a bed in
3 and
there
4.
and a dresser in there, a television somewhere. There's no room to, 3 feet to get up and walk. 11 by 11 bedrooms. Okay, 2 more things, the pictures. I know you like pictures. Here is the comparison of the communities. I don't know if you can see that, but Star Hill's 4.6 units per acre. Star Hill. Montana Marone, 4 units per acre. They could have put 8. They put 4. Star Hills Community could have put 8. They put 4. Diamond Star, 8. Okay? Number of lots 23 in Star Hill, 20 in Montana Marone. 20. 40. The builder wants to build 40.